channel. Let me just make sure, because sometimes when we rush, this is when I mess up on. Yep. How we're doing, everybody? Now, can you hear us? Testing, testing, testing. Hope everybody is doing well. Welcome back to the channel here at Energize Us. We are traveling the U.S., getting to learn from the stories, getting to learn from the experiences of electricians before us, so that we can give you guys the tools, the resources, the insights that you need, so you can avoid all the headaches, you can avoid all the stresses that it seems that every electrician just keeps running into. And this week, I'm very excited to be with a close friend of mine, Steven Campos, over here at Heritage Electric in Ventura, California. Steven.
What's up, man?
It's always good to see you.
You too, brother. You too.
So we're over here, we're in your shop, and I want to know what started Heritage Electric. How did you get into this world of electrical? Bring us that story.
I got into it, just jumped into the trade, left another trade, been in construction for a long time, bounced around doing different things in construction. But when I jumped into electrical, I really loved it and gravitated more towards that. And you know, it's hard at the beginning, but it's challenging. So, and every day is different. And so I really love the challenge of it, pushing me to my limits mentally, and the capabilities that you're capable of. It pushes your creativity, and it takes a lot, and it reveals a lot to yourself about who you are. If you really kind of look at it kind of that way sometimes, or the depth of it, how it can be. And so it exposes some weak areas in your skills, if you really want to be good at it and be a great leader in the trade. And so I loved that challenge, and so started doing a lot of side work at the company I was at, also doing side work, and kind of started. It got real busy with side work.
Yeah.
And so I made a jump, right? And so made a choice, how to make a choice. But a lot of that came through my faith also, through my faith in God. And I share that a lot with people. I've always shared that. And that's my biggest thing, though. That is the biggest thing, is my faith in God, and being led by him, and doors opening, and in faith walking through them, but being grounded in faith and identity too, and who you are as a man, right? And as a leader, as a family man. So it really helped me to stay grounded, and not to compromise certain things, right? Not willing to do things at the expense of my family either, right? So there is a way, it's possible to still be a good husband, a good dad, and operate a business. And I didn't need to work, doing it the way, through the way I believe.
Yeah.
It didn't have to come at the cost of family and certain things, right?
I like that, because not only it seems like you got into the trade the same way a lot of us got into the trade. We're passionate about what we do. We want to provide that good service. And then you start going into this transition of, why you want to keep doing this at such a high level, but at the same time, you want to keep those priorities, that focus.
Yeah.
And I feel like when we were talking this week about how, if you allow yourself, or if you don't have those parameters, or if you don't have that structure early on, you're just going to get pushed and blown with the wind. Or in this sense of what business is, or what distractions business can bring, And we talked about how a lot of people without that structure will just think, hey, you have to work all day and all night. That's
Right.
the cost of business, right?
Correct.
Oh, your kids, you want to work for your kids, so your kids come second.
Correct.
And then you tell yourself, I need to do this for my kids. So you try to justify it internally, right?
Correct.
So you can keep doing that, but then that's what's actually causing the issues to begin with.
Correct.
So this is a very important topic, I feel like, for not only for new electricians coming in, because a lot of electricians are coming into the trade because they see what the trade has to offer.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, If you stick in the trade and you just follow what's going on every day, or you do what you see every day in the field, you're just going to be putting yourself into this cycle that seems to just be continuing. You know, it's that phrase of like a mold. If you have a mold or a pan that has a kink in it,
Hmm.
every piece of loaf that comes out of that is going to have that kink in
Yeah,
it, right?
correct.
The only way to fix that is to push out those kinks, try to make it as smooth as possible so that that next batch does better. And at the end of the day, I feel like that's what I really want electricians to see, thrive in, get new opportunities. Because once again, electrical, we see how valuable it is, we see how much it's growing. And at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we're coming in not only just for those reasons, but at the same time, what can you make of it? Now, we all are reasonable men, right? We understand you need to make a living for your family, because at the
Hmm.
same time, the Bible goes, a man who doesn't provide for it. You know, you got the other
Right.
extreme. You
Yeah,
understand?
exactly.
But at what cost is what we really want to focus on today. And I want to know, like, where did that come from, in your experience? Because not everybody, and what we talked about, the industry doesn't teach you that.
Correct.
You understand? It goes with, hey, do some side work. Oh, you're making a lot of money? Keep doing side work.
Right.
Keep working doubles. Keep
Right.
getting the overtime, right? And then you start getting into that rat race.
Right.
When did you notice, or were you able to see that difference of like, hey, this may be enough for the family, or hey, this is not enough? Or, when did you start asking yourself these questions as an electrician?
Yeah, because it got to the point to where, the side work was quite a bit, and so I knew that it would come at the cost of probably my family time. That if I kept doing it, that for one, I was going to burn out.
Mhm.
Two, I was going to be missing a lot of things regarding my family. So me knowing that, and that all comes from my faith, knowing that I'm a dad, I'm a husband first, then a dad, right? Um, and so me knowing that I'm not willing, in my heart of hearts, I was never willing to sacrifice that for anything or anyone or no
Mm.
amount of money. So I knew that, okay, then you need to make a choice. Okay, a lot of prayer went into it, talking to my wife about it. I need to make a choice, but then all of a sudden, this door opened up for me to take on a project. There's a lot more to that story, to that
Mm.
test. For me, it's a testimony, right? There's a lot more to that story, but that's just kind of the gist of it, of how I was able to make that choice.
I love that. I love that because at the end of the day, you came in with those standards, those parameters. And I feel like for an apprentice who may be listening and you're coming into the trade, or you're looking to get into the electrical space, you're coming in with that mindset of, or you're being told, you need to have thick skin, you need to put in all the work. Hey, if they offer you overtime, always say yes. And you're now in a position where you're like, hey, I want you to learn. I want you to grow. Maybe you shouldn't put all your eggs in just the work, work, work mindset.
Right.
Now, that doesn't mean you don't need to work. That doesn't mean you don't need to grow. What we're trying to say is recognize what's valuable in the beginning. So when it comes to now having those priorities, I love how these principles also help you in other aspects of life.
Hmm.
So in business, what are some blessings? What are some ways that having those standards, those structures helps you in business now?
Um, one of the things is I'm able to be honest with myself as to where I'm at, and where I need to grow as a person and as a businessman, right? So
Mhm.
coming into business, I was a good worker, right? But not a good businessman. And so I needed to be honest with myself and understand that I needed help. So with that, there was also people I had in my life, some good friends of mine that I was in the church. I was in this marketplace group that we build up marketplace people. And
Nice.
so they had already started helping me with that mindset of, it's for me and I can do it and I'm called to it.
Mhm.
So the transformation of the mindset and the heart, right, was taking place already before I even started business. And so,
Well,
um, but recognizing that and being honest with yourself, because that you could stuff a lot of things down. You can really stress yourself out, overthink things, get frustrated, stall out, hit a wall, right? But you really need solid people around you too that are gonna speak life into you and be honest
Yeah.
with you. But we also got to be able to open up. So those are a lot of things we could go down. Those
Yeah.
we could go down. There's a couple of streets that we could go down, right? So it's like, but yeah. So that's gist of it. The gist of it is that that's just one kind of thing. If that answers the question.
No, it is, because I love how you approach that. When you do that, it sets this parameter, it sets this pattern on the trajectory you want to go down. And I like that because, especially when it comes to new homeowners, new projects, new customers that we may be working with, when they are looking for a contractor, you can imagine, the majority of construction is homes, residences, right? So you're thinking of somebody who may need electrical work. They want to work with someone that's trustworthy, that has
Mhm.
character, who's not going to defile their home. That's where their children sleep. That's where their
Right.
family hangs out. That's their peace. They're
Yeah.
stressed all day. Now they come
Exactly.
home. So when you're working with a contractor, or if you're a homeowner and you're looking to hire a contractor, at the end of the day, you want to make sure whoever you're inviting into your home is going to value and take care of your home. And that doesn't mean just by their work. That also means with the type of personality they are, the type of character that they have. Are they trustworthy? Are they someone that you can have a conversation with when things get difficult, or there's a change to the scope, if they're going to take advantage of that?
Right.
Right? So if you're a contractor, you want to make sure that you're presenting that as much as you can,
Mhm.
because I'm the type of guy where I understand homeowners are already in a difficult situation. Something's broken.
Mhm.
There's a outlet that's burning up.
Mhm.
They already expecting a high bill.
Right.
So why would you come in and put them more at stress or raise that stress level?
Right.
Right? By the way you communicate, by the way, like, oh no, he came up a little dirty. I don't like how he smells like a pack of cigarettes. My kids are next. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're just giving them more of a off-putting
Yeah.
presentation. Now with what you're saying, you have those standards, you have that structure, you're building up that character in the sense of, hey, if I'm trustworthy, if I have this character, hey, the way you communicate with the homeowner, you want to give that value to them, but at the same time, you're not coming in with oh my God, I'm going to hit the home run and get rich off of this job. But you're
Right.
coming in with, hey, I'm at this capacity, I can handle that work,
Exactly.
we can guarantee this outcome because this is how we do business.
Mhm.
You're selling yourself on a sense of character and value, rather than I'm gonna just get it done, but you're gonna have to pay a lot of money.
Right.
You understand? You're
Right.
you're sympathizing almost more with the homeowners. Have you seen that working as an electrician, as a contractor? Does that help more, or do you see, or what is your experience like when you see contractors only focusing on quality work, like that's all that they have to offer?
Yeah, it's just good work, and then here's the bill.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, that's all good. I think there's principles and core values, right, that are missing sometimes. And when you have those things, I think when somebody's really solid and rooted in their identity and who they are and who they're called to be, um, they're able to sympathize and work with people sometimes, and even sometimes give somebody a break, right?
Mhm.
You just got to read every situation, but I think that's a lost art, and it's not hard to beat nowadays. Um, it's not hard to stand out like that because so many people don't stand out like that. Now, none of us are perfect, and I'm not perfect, but um, and I do make mistakes, and not every day is the greatest day on earth, right? But
Mhm.
but I am mindful of people and their situations and how to take care of them.
I like that. And now that you're in a position as a contractor, with your experience out there, you have a team that's growing. What type of qualities are you looking for in apprentices? What type of qualities are you looking for in journeymen? What type of qualities are you looking for now in customers yourselves, of who you deal with? Because we were giving over the example of, what if you're working for a GC who's late on payments? If you're working with a GC who, it seems to be every time you bring up that conversation, there's always another excuse. So we can see how these principles apply in
Right.
many facets. How do you handle, or how do you address apprentices, customers, journeymen, GCs, for example?
Yeah, for hiring, there's been a lot of learning and growing there, but now I've learned to keep my foot on hiring character over skill set, because skill set can still be taught, right?
Yeah, there's schools for that
Character
reason.
too, but if you try to teach somebody character after the fact, it's very hard. It's harder.
It's that phrase, the old dog with new tricks, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
But to help somebody to gain new skills, meaning in their skill set and capabilities working, um, that's easier than trying to teach somebody character that doesn't understand that they need to change who they are.
Mm.
And so they don't, sometimes people just don't see, um, are not willing to be honest with themselves and won't accept the help and the leadership and the training and the mentoring of you trying to help them. And so there, a lot of people are just blind to it, and don't want to go through the process,
Yeah,
right, of what it takes.
the
And
looking in the
so
mirror.
yeah, and so I've seen that a lot, and so it's kind of sad at the same time, but that's how I kind of deal with that and handle that is character over skill set. um and that's been a good one. So it's easy to filter that, so it's easy to kind of cut ties with somebody when that starts happening. um and as far as clients too, same thing. It's kind of the same thing, right? Holding people accountable. Say somebody doesn't want to pay or keep up with billing, then, right, I'm not here to fund somebody's project and I'm not the bank. So, have a conversation, a normal conversation, like a human, with respect. And then you, some of the things that I do is maybe not, if we can't get payment, I don't have the money to continue funding being on this project,
Yeah.
And so that's the reality of it, because we got payroll, we got insurances, right? We got material, fuel, my own family, so things like that. So um, I think there's a bad, like, stigma in the trades where it's almost like we're expected to always get paid later whenever people are ready to pay, and that's not okay, because we don't do that with our groceries or
Mhm.
other things we pay for. And so um, and it gets easy when you have those. It's about being able to have tough conversations with people, and that's a learned skill also, right? That's a skill. Some people just fly off the handle and get frustrated and upset,
Yeah. Or
right?
run.
Or run, or don't have those conversations, and they suffer and they fork out their money, but they're paying or they don't pay their guys, right? Because they're afraid to have a conversation with somebody and put their foot down. Okay, you're not paying, well, we're not going to show up. We won't be there tomorrow. I can't do this, right?
Yeah.
And what it's just being able to make those decisions, those tough decisions. Um, they're tough, but they're not tough. Um, at the beginning, they can be tough, but once you do, and you kind of have the understanding, you get the skills and the mindset that how actually wrong it is, and how those decisions that you make affect other people, and your own family and yourself. Waking up at night because you're wondering if the bill's going to be paid, the invoice is going to be paid the next day. Um, I just don't deal with that.
I like that, because at the end of the day, we always lead with character, or in the sense of like, let's have an honest conversation,
Hmm.
right? Because I genuinely believe there's nothing you can't solve when something comes up with two people having a conversation.
Correct.
There's always something that you can figure out. It's in those moments people go to default mode into that work, or that run, or that fight or flight situation. Like,
Hmm.
oh, I don't want to confront that, so I'm gonna just run away, or I'm gonna just fight it. And then that's usually what brings up more issues.
Hmm.
And that's a big part of the industry, I feel like, in people in general. So when it comes to apprentices coming into the trade, we understand there's a lot of stigmas, like you mentioned.
Hmm.
There's the keep your head down and just work,
Right.
right? Or somebody tells you to do something, you don't question them, just do it. You're saying, and I love that example, because I feel like a lot of people could ask, hey, I don't understand this. What does that mean? Of course, there's a time and place for everything, just like to
Hmm.
have those conversations. Also, when you're coming into the trade and they're just saying, hey, put your head down and work. I don't want to hear from you. I just want to see you moving. That has valid at the same time, but at the same time, you want to make sure, like, hey, is it all about work or should I be doing the right thing at work?
Hmm.
Should I be focusing on how do I get better or how do I make sure this job is done the right way? And that's what you're doing. You're teaching them, you're giving them that space to learn, you're giving them that opportunity to fail.
Hmm.
That's another part that we talked about. And I feel like we're in this world where you always have to be right, you always have to be the hardest working, or you always have to be the best guy in there. You know what I mean? So you have this persona that you have to inflate more.
Right.
And if anything comes that challenges it, now it's a clash.
Right.
You
Exactly.
understand? And you don't know how to respond to that because you're the best. So how dare you question me?
Right.
Right. So you argue, or you're like, or someone challenges you and you feel like you look stupid and you just want to run.
Right.
Let's say an apprentice is coming in. What type of environment do you want to create? Or let's say an apprentice is coming in and he sees all of these stigmas around him. What's something that you would recommend your earlier self or an apprentice coming in to stay focused on?
Just stay focused on improving your skills, right? Your people skills, your being teachable, right? Always being teachable, and understanding that it's a process. There's no quick way through it, um, and to do your due diligence,
Yeah.
right? Meaning you don't stop learning after you clock out. You if you're in an apprenticeship program, right, you're doing that, but also you're doing other homework. It's like I tell these guys all the time, like, what did you work on today? Well, go home and watch a couple of videos on it,
Yeah.
right? And learn some other things that were you able to learn in a little. It could be a not so much pressured environment. Better yourself, buy some pipe, right? And go
Yeah.
make the bend and around your garage and figure that out, learn it, right? I mean, yes, we need to be taught that, but you could still go home and put some work in yourself. Um, that's what it takes. That's what it takes to me, right? To excel and to be good at anything. It's it's just like the best athletes, right?
Mm.
They the ones that are the best are always the ones that are in the gym by themselves when
Mm.
nobody's around, when nobody's watching, right? Putting in the most work. You know, one little example. One day, if I may, I was took my daughter to go shoot some baskets at a park, and it was Sunday, and I'm like, look around. She's like, yeah, no one's here, and I'm like, yeah, you know why? She's like, no, why? I said, because it's hard.
Mm.
Because it's hard. But you know what? This is what it takes to be better when everybody
Yeah.
else is just chilling out. You're improving yourself. And that's the same kind of concept it takes at whatever you want to do. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's the mindset that I think um, it's very rare nowadays. I could go on this, something's popping up in my head. It's like how people are raised, and there's a lot of other
Oh
things
yeah, it could
that
get
go,
it's
you know
deeper.
what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like there's a deeper, you know,
Yep.
conversation there. But some of us that understand that are willing to teach people that.
Yes.
And people at the same time don't like it. And it's hard for people to be corrected, people are not teachable sometimes, right? Not all the time, but it just goes back to people being, it's tough for people to be honest with themselves. And it gets uncomfortable when somebody else can maybe point something out on us. Um, and we don't like it because it means we need to change.
Hmm.
And so it's that fight or flight. Okay, I'm out, right? On to the next company
Or forget you.
or forget you, right? Who are you? You're just after this, you're trying to blah,
Yeah.
blah, 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 blah. You don't do this, you don't do that for me, blah, blah, blah. So, there's a lot of different things there, but that's what I encourage, like anybody coming up and wanting to come up. Because there's a lot of information out there. Just fake it till you make it and blah, all this crap. Like that's a bunch of crap. That's no way to live,
Yeah.
right? That's no way to live. That's not the type of person you want to be? How would you like it if somebody lied to you? They brought you. I have this very high paying job for you to come in, and I need you for 3 months. Well, they use you for 1 week, then cut you loose, right?
Mhm.
Oh, I
Mhm.
thought you liked fake it till you make it. Well, how do you like it,
Yeah,
right? And
exactly.
so there's just a lot of different, like, that's bad mindset, and I think there's a lot of stuff out there that is hurting, young men and young women in the trades, I
Yeah.
it's just something that I see that I don't roll with, but
Yeah.
you know,
And that's so true because that's like a lot of the pain points that I see in the industry, especially going through the US. It doesn't it keeps surprising me. Everywhere we go, it's the same issues that we see. No matter where you're at. So that's why we keep saying that it's a cultural shock. And I love how you started talking about with the mindset and the work that you put in with your daughter, teaching her already to have that mindset of doing the work when no one is looking, and you can even look at that as that's still elementary because that's going to help her to develop these habits that she needs. And it goes so much deeper than that. I remember I was watching an interview with Tom Brady, and Tom Brady was talking about, like, if you want to be good, you gotta play high level. If you want to be great, you have to practice when no one else is practicing, just like a Kobe.
right?
But he goes, if you want to be like in the top 1%, he goes, you have to check your other aspects of life. Like, he goes, I have doctors studying how I sleep.
Hmm.
Did I sleep enough? You know what I mean? Because you're going
Right.
to work hard, but then you have to sleep.
Yeah.
Then there's people who study what they're eating.
Hmm.
So it's not even just about the work. There's so many different facets of how to be great, and you have to dissect each section.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
So when you're coming into the trade and you thinking it's just a work, no, that's going to make you good.
Sure.
You will be a good worker.
Right.
Like what we say, hey, that's fine. You're going to be a great worker. You'll be the best guy in the shop. That's
Right.
fine. But let's say you want to be a journeyman. Now you have to study, instead of studying sleep, study the code.
Right.
You want to be a master electrician. You want to be the best in town. You got to work on communicating now.
Right.
Now you have to work on presenting yourself. Then you have to work on how to pass an exam. There's so many different facets from the trade and in life that you have to work with, because let's say I'm a great worker. I will always be a great worker. You will always be a great worker. That's fine. But if you want to be a great business owner,
Hmm.
if you want to be a great husband, the qualities that you work on outside of work, like how to communicate, how to have uncomfortable conversation, that's going to help you be a better foreman, a
Hmm.
GC, boss, and husband.
Right.
Those, being a better electrician doesn't help you at home.
Right.
Being a better electrician, right,
Right.
doesn't help you be a better father,
Exactly.
right?
Right.
But if you learn how to communicate, if you work on character, if you work on how to not overpromise, underdeliver, how to be more trustworthy, you will be a better electrician
Hmm.
in other avenues that people can't even touch you on,
Exactly.
right? And
Exactly.
then those qualities help you on all the other facets of life.
Exactly. And for me, that a lot of that training took place before I started business. I
Wow.
put myself in leadership classes, did leadership classes, not for the fact that I wanted to do business, but I just wanted to be a better man. I wanted to be a
Mm,
good man. Um, and just, for me, lead people to God also, right? And so it
I
was
love that.
it was a selfless thing. It was, I'm doing this to better myself and so I could be useful and helpful for other people around me. And so in that, you're able to you get to experience a lot of things, and you're able to help people because you're able to have a different level of compassion and see people through a different lens,
Mm,
because sometimes the way people can be, it's like, okay, well, you know what I know is you woke up that way, it's not me, right?
mhm.
You woke up that way, I'm not the problem. So it's not like I'm gonna, all right, we're gonna go at it then today. No, it's like you're able to remain calm, right? I'm able to be a leader, and lead. And sometimes it disarms people.
Yeah,
You're able to disarm people, or they get so uncomfortable they just don't talk to you anymore.
yeah,
Or they'll, right, when it comes to business, they'll leave, right? Because it's just uncomfortable. this guy just doesn't understand, and blah blah blah. I do understand. I'm just trying to help you, but no one's ever confronted you in this way, so it's very uncomfortable for you, right?
Yeah.
And so, because I also say, like, the work exposes you. The work actually exposes you. It shows exactly who you are. Um, a lot of characteristics of what you have come out, and how you work and what you do
I like
and
that.
how you do it. It really does. And so you're able to see why people do things and how they do things and the type of personality they have. And so, but yeah, I mean, that's there's a
Mm.
lot there also. You keep going
Yeah.
down different avenues of that subject, but yeah, it's
I like that because like all of this stuff, and just like when we were teaching the class, what we were going over, like talking about electrical, talking about this, and it always seems like it always goes back to like a greater cause.
mhm,
it always ties back to a greater sense of who do you want. Half of this stuff has nothing to do with who you are or the work you're doing. It's who are you trying to become,
right.
and then that frequency, that channel that we're trying
Mhm,
to focus into, that's going to be like, hey, this is right for me. I need to keep doing that. So that's what I love, especially with electricians coming in. I feel like they put that unburdened pressure on them to always try to do it. And I understand in the beginning, you have to do that work. You have to do it. You have to learn. You understand? But I don't want them to get focused on the wrong
mhm,
channel or the wrong frequency, like just for that superficial pleasure of, oh,
mhm,
I'm the best. You know what I
right.
mean? You want to focus on doing the best you can. And I feel like what you mentioned, if you work on all those other aspects, you will be the best by a side effect,
Exactly.
but you are still becoming the person that you should be becoming. So I like that.
Yeah, people gravitate towards you.
Yeah.
I was in a place before where I was able to see that just because somebody was a journeyman didn't make them a good leader, right?
Mm.
And that kind of
But you
that's
see that
another.
everywhere, though.
Yeah, exactly. And that's another reason why I wanted to start my own business, because I couldn't control that where I was at. But you know what? There's a place that you can have of your own, right? That you can have an impact that way, where you train leaders to lead the right way and to the best of your ability, right?
Mm.
And there's and it's not easy, and it's a harder road. It's not like it's my way or the highway. Boom, get out, right? All that. There's I think there's a fine line, right, with some of that stuff, and some of that stuff. Sometimes, yes, it's when there's rules and people aren't following them. Okay, yeah, these are the rules. If you can't follow them, you got to go, right? But when it's like it's my way because I said so, right? That because that's who I am and that's all I know, right? Is essentially what somebody's saying when when you have a different type of skill set that can recognize that, well, you're saying that because you don't know how to teach, so your
Mm.
go that's your defense mechanism is, well, just because I said, that's why,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, well, maybe you just don't know how to teach, or you don't know how to talk to people, right?
Mm.
And you don't have the skill set and the capacity and the capability to actually lead, right? Just because you can read a good set of prints and make these great installs doesn't mean you know how to delegate and get people to do what you need them to do.
Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned that. Like, I won't say names or anything, but it's funny how everybody who wants to talk online, especially, in that online community, they all want to make it seem like, oh, this is a fake. I'm a better electrician than them anyway. Like, that's their go-to defense. And then I
Yeah,
go, you know what? Sounds good. You can have it.
yeah,
I'm a better father, though. Ooh, and then well, who are you to now?
right,
What happened to Mr. Tough Guy? No,
yeah,
you're the best electrician. Take it.
yeah,
But it's funny is like when then you give back a little of it, and
yeah.
then now it's
Well, it's like, ouch, you know what
yeah.
I mean?
I
And
was like,
that,
what happened
yeah,
to Mr.? I thought I was the sensitive one.
yeah, and that's one thing I mentioned to you too, and I don't really care, me too much about or follow a lot of these, different things, and like you're talking about, yes, I get it, and I'm not here to go after somebody, like just like you're saying, but I don't have the
Yeah.
time for that. But it is something that is sad to see, because one thing I told you earlier, I asked myself, it's like, well, I wonder what kind of dad they are.
Exactly.
What kind of husband are they? wow, you work that much?
Hmm.
Interesting. And so it's at the sacrifice of what? And I'm not sitting here saying I know somebody's story, but you could hear certain things that are um
Patterns.
yeah, patterns and that are unhealthy, that
Hmm.
at one point in my life before I changed it, I probably did, right? And
Yep,
so I'm
I
not sitting
agree.
here saying I'm a perfect person, but I made a lot of mistakes. So I'm able to recognize certain things and understand certain patterns and certain behaviors
Hmm.
um, that I walked away from. And so it's like, well, that's not healthy, saying you need to work 12 to 16 hours a day if you want to make it. That's not even true.
Yep.
That's not even true.
Yep.
That's not if you educate yourself, put yourself around other good leaders, right? Don't get me wrong. Sometimes you do have to work late, yes, but
Mhm.
it's not like
But
6 days a week, 7 days a
exactly. It's
week.
not a pattern of it. It's
Yeah,
like if a moment comes up, just like anything in life,
yeah,
it needs an attention right now. So,
right,
yeah.
right, yeah. And so for me, even now, I don't miss my daughter's games.
Mhm.
I'm not willing to sacrifice that. But there's a lot of other things too, like right that I don't answer my phone after 6:30 anymore when it's a work call.
Mm.
But that's just me, like you
Yeah.
know. But that doesn't mean anything either, right? But I'm saying that's something for me that
No, that's
that
how,
that
yeah.
helps me. But it doesn't, right?
And there's so many different aspects of that and in different avenues. So you may apply it or see it viewing as working all day, all night. But then others can view it as how you want to take care of yourself
Hmm.
also. Like I remember, like once again, we were joking around, like contractors will be like, hey, the first thing that they want to do is find out the closest gas station because that's where they're gonna have breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the next few weeks, you know? And then we're at the point where we're like, all right, I can't even be the best because I know I don't operate the best just eating gas station food. So
Hmm.
we have to eat something different. But guess what? You eat cleaner, you lose weight, and then people are like, "Oh, you're not a real electrician because you're not eating gas station food." It's like you can have that, like so.
Right.
It's not just one aspect of life; it's so
Yeah.
many other.
Right.
But the thing is, the pattern is people don't want to recognize a shift needs to be made, and the
Correct.
people who don't want to change how they speak, the ones who don't want to change how they view work, are the same ones who don't want to lose the weight, who don't want to work towards their families, who won't have a higher calling or work on their face system. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's the same principal patterns that if you're closed off at work or about work, you're going to be closed off in other aspects of life. It's not like, hey, I'm a bad electrician, but I'm amazing in other aspects of life. It's like, no, it's not that. You want to be able to handle the responsibilities and you want to be the person you can be handling those responsibilities because that's a reflection of who you are. That's why I'm a big believer of like, if you're going to go on social media, if you're going to showcase your life, you want to showcase the aspects and qualities that people can admire and has nothing to do with work.
Right.
Because it's like if you go to the gym, all right, he's disciplined,
Hmm.
he's taking care of himself, the way he communicates, the way he's always traveling, but he still shows up. All these different things, you can show a message of, if I'm willing to take care of these aspects of life, if we're going to work together, I want to take care of you.
Hmm.
So let's say you're a contractor, right?
Hmm.
Let's say you're talking to your customers. How or what's the message you want to give towards your customers? Why would they go, let me not go with that company. I want to go with Heritage. What are you aiming for? What type of quality?
Just kind of, understanding their concern at first, like they have a problem, right? And they're bringing it to you. And sometimes they just want to know that you care. You're willing to listen and you're not trying to retire off them. Meaning,
Mm,
that's what I say. I'm like, I'm not, people are like, well, this guy charge, well, this is what we charge and that'll be it.
take it or leave it,
I'm
right?
not, yeah, and I'm not here to try to retire off this one job. And um, it goes a long way with people that you build trust, right? A lot of people, because you could be the third person they met that day that's here to give them something, a quote or look at something, and right, but you kind of made them feel more comfortable, or you just ask them something, you just care, right? And
Mhm.
when people notice that you care, it goes a long way. With same for me. When I go buy something, I'm talking to somebody and somebody's just, trying to sell me something, then I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't know. Like, let me go ask somebody else. Let me go to another store, see what they
Yeah.
say. But when I talk to somebody that actually gives me great information and they ask me certain questions, and they show interest in my concerns, then I kind of like, even if it costs a little bit more, I'm probably going to go with this person because they actually gave me more information and they understood what I came for.
Yeah. I like that. And I like that because, as you can imagine, the homeowner's already in a stressful situation, right?
Hmm.
And you're putting yourself in the homeowner's shoes. You're already like, all right, nobody's planning on waking up thinking like, oh man, I couldn't wait to do a panel upgrade.
Hmm.
You know, it's more of a reactive thing. So you now put yourself and you sympathize with them. You're like, at the end of the day, they need to get it done regardless.
Right.
So you already know someone's getting the job. But at the end of the day, you put yourself in their shoes and like, hey, let's figure out what is going on. What is that need that you have? You know, is their family at home? Is their kids at home? You know, then you're going to be like, okay, well, this is what we can do. This is what, and the simple fact that you tailor that message and you bring ease to the customer, that speaks a lot. That speaks a lot. I like that because I don't feel like a lot of contractors focus on that because we already talked about that. Hey, I gotta, my electrical panel just blew up. I don't know what's going on. Don't worry, ma'am, I'll be there. You know, we all
Hmm.
say that. But when we're there, nope, don't worry, I'm gonna take care of it. I do the best work.
Hmm.
Not once have you mentioned she has a 3-year-old. You know what I mean? Who has
Exactly.
nothing. So now they
Exactly.
can't sympathize on that level.
Exactly.
You see where I'm getting at?
Right.
So then you go, oh no, I see you got a little toy bikes out there. You know what, ma'am? I know this is a, you know, this is a situation. I can call my guys. We can be here tonight. We can start fixing it. We know this
Hmm.
emergency. We know you got a 3-year-old, but it's going to require X, Y, Z.
Right.
Oh, at least he understands that sympathetic side.
Exactly.
So, what do you think new electricians coming in, or if you're thinking about becoming a contractor, how do you learn something like that? You know, of course it takes time to like
Sure.
develop care and like you want to establish that type of rapport with customers. But what are some things you can do today to like maybe it's not go go go, maybe it's like stop, process what they're actually.
Hmm.
One phrase my foreman would tell me, and it's so funny because I use this phrase all the time with my kids. I have a 12-year-old at home. She's in that age where she's starting to bark back at me, you know. And I'm now there was moments I was washing the dishes, and I heard Danny say the same phrase to Adi. So I was started cracking up because I'm like, oh, she liked that phrase. But I remember when I was going through the apprenticeship, my foreman would say, "Will, listen to understand.
Exactly.
Don't listen to respond."
Exactly.
You'll be
Exactly.
talking, you're already thinking
Exactly.
about what I'm going to jump to,
Right.
right? The homeowner saying this, like, oh, that's 1200. You know, you're already thinking about throwing out the number. And then you don't pick up. She goes, yeah, I got a newborn at home.
Hmm.
Oh, but I've been working double shifts because I'm trying to pay the rent. So you don't hear the I need help. You're just thinking about the next sale or you're thinking about the next job. You're thinking about just getting what you want.
Right.
What do you think about that phrase, or what can an electrician do to get better at that?
I think too, it's like your people skills and having a level of compassion, um, and generosity. Um, it's like that might not sound like it makes sense, but
Mhm.
being compassionate towards people in their situations, right? When you have the skills and you have the capability to fix the problem, but the generosity part is also not generosity of giving something away, monetarily, meaning money or something, but giving away kindness, right? Being generous with who you are deep down inside, the human side of you, um, the super compassionate person, generous
Mhm.
person that's willing to go an extra mile with somebody, hear them out, and kind of problem solve it, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Being generous with who you are, also in your time, who you are. Meaning, for me, that goes back to somebody developing themselves.
Yeah.
The development of yourselves, the development of yourself to be able to be that and be generous with the skill set that you have, right?
Yeah.
But that's we don't have that no more. That's a lost thing. Does that make sense?
100%.
You know what I mean? So
100%.
how can we be generous and compassionate because we've never learned that. We've never gathered that, and And people might think that's a dumb thing, but it's not. It takes you a lot farther. Generosity is a principle. It's such a godly principle
Yeah.
that that'll take you a lot farther. If people understand, and there's levels to generosity.
Yes.
There's levels to generosity. I've seen it. I've seen the power of it in my life. Continue to. Now, don't say that like if I've arrived somewhere, but I've learned how to be generous on different levels, and you change lives that way.
Yeah. And I think that's also tied to like the scarcity mindset, right?
Right.
Because you can be generous, and the ones who are generous and they give freely of their time, their energy, those efforts, they always see that in abundance tenfold, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, so we understand that's that generosity mindset. There's that scarcity mindset of, oh, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that, or my time is more valuable than
Yeah.
this. So they hoard all that stuff, but then you can't grow like that. You understand?
Exactly.
In the sense of now applying that to work, you want to make sure like you want to put out that effort, you want to make and take risk in the sense of what can come. I always love that account. I know in the Bible, I don't quote me on it,
Mm-hmm.
but where it's from, where it was that parable where the three slaves, one invested it,
Mm-hmm.
one did nothing with it,
Mhm.
and one wasted it.
Mm-hmm.
The one who just guarded it with that scarcity mindset of like, oh, I don't want to risk it, he's the one who got reprimanded,
Right.
right? It's like, no, if you are given a gift, risk it, but at the same time with caution.
Right.
Don't stupidly waste it.
Exactly.
But hey, if you're good at this, take that blessing, multiply it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Invest it.
Don't just hoard it and say, no, this is my time. This is my skill.
Right.
I'm not going to help you out. Figure it out on your own because I had to learn the hard way.
Right.
You see what I'm getting
Right.
at? So now you have these contractors who may do great work, but they don't want to share it. Or they
Right.
learned how to do something and they don't want to help other people out. Or this is the way I was raised. This is the way I was taught.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to change for anyone
Correct.
else. So that same principle of scarcity is
Right.
also the ones who don't grow in every other aspect.
Correct.
You know, there's avenues where you can try something and fail,
Mm-hmm.
but failure only comes if you give up. You understand? That's why out of all three of those examples, the one who did nothing with
Mhm.
it, who kept it close to himself,
Right.
you know, you may think, oh, that's a conservative move. That's
Yeah.
But it's like, no, he got counseled because you didn't do anything with it.
Yeah.
It was the intent behind it.
Yeah. You were given a gift and you did nothing with that gift that I gave you. I came to check up on you and to see what you did with the gift that I gave you, and you did nothing with it. But this guy over here, I gave him the same gift. He multiplied that gift.
Mm-hmm.
He went and invested it. And so that could look like many different things, right? Into
Exactly.
people, into a lot of different things, right? And
Yep.
so
It's
that's
the principle
it's
that's
the principle, yes.
of going out and trying to do something
Mhm.
more with what you were given,
Mhm.
or
Holding on to it.
and don't let nobody touch it.
Right.
Don't look at me.
This is my gift. I'm going to make sure that it doesn't get wasted, but it doesn't grow either. And you're just stuck, right? And so it's a poverty mindset. You know, it's
Yeah,
a poverty mindset.
And then not only that doesn't just apply to work, that's one example of how you're treating your entire life.
Exactly.
Right? You're going to be the same way with your family. You're going to be, or if you even have a family, because if
Right.
you're like that, you're not doing good at home. But it's the same way you communicate with people. You're not going to go out on a limb. You're not going to check up on your friends. You're not going to check up on your family. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
if you're closed off like that, you're closed off in other aspects of life.
Exactly. And it just reminds me of, I think about the future generations of my own family.
Mm.
And those being generous and doing things like that, leaving a legacy. What kind of legacy do you want to leave, right? And being generous only adds and prepares and kind of sets up that legacy, right? And I don't hear that talked about a lot either. About, I mean, maybe you do. Maybe I don't. Maybe there is out there, but about leaving a solid legacy. It's
Mm.
not about financially leaving tons of money, but right, raising, just doing it different ways and leaving a great legacy of some of the good works we do.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, because there's so many different metrics of success that you can go
Mhm.
down. Like financial, that's the superficial. That's the first thing anyone.
Mhm.
But just like what we started with telling people, why are they coming into the trades? Is it just because it's good money, or are you going to do something with it? I like how you mentioned that, and it's funny how you talked about that, and it talked about investing, and you start talking about giving, and you start. That's what I loved, and that's why like we're here this week when we're doing this training. I love how you mentioned like that mindset of giving.
Mhm.
We talked about right in the beginning how contractors don't want to invest into their team.
Mhm.
I love what you're doing. You're giving that training, you're investing into your team. And there's that phrase that we started the class off with. Contractors are afraid to train their team because they think if they train them, they're helping their competition. And that after you train them, they're going to leave.
Right.
But we viewed it the other way. What if you don't train your electricians? What if you don't train your apprentices and then they decide to stay? Which is actually worse.
Mhm.
Now you have an untrained workforce
Hmm.
that doesn't trust each other,
Right.
right? Or do you want a trained workforce, but they may leave? But the issue is, or the thing to keep in mind is, if you train them and you pour into them, they
Mhm.
don't want to leave. That's
Right.
the thing, right?
Right.
So, with that in mind, we're seeing electricians now learning here, growing here. And at the end of the day, they're getting an opportunity that we know a lot of contractors are not going to give them. And at the end of the day, if you train them and they happen to leave,
Mhm.
at least you know you did 100% everything on your part.
Right.
I gave them a chance. I gave them an opportunity. I gave them some training. And if they left, at the end of the day, you made someone a better person regardless.
Right.
So how do you feel about that?
Um, yeah, it's like leaving people better than where you found them. You know what I mean?
Mm,
And yeah, somebody could take off or whatever, but your heart intention was to better them, right?
mm,
And so, I mean, yeah, is it going to happen? It will. Yeah, it always does. People get trained and they take off, but like you said, what if you don't train them and they stay, right? You always want to leave people better than what you found them,
I like
right?
that.
I always want to leave, and those are really my intentions. People might not see it that way. They might seem like, dude, he just wanted me to change who I am. Well, I mean, yeah, not for me, but for yourself, right? And
Mm,
so, just trying to leave somebody better than when you found them, and I think that I don't know. Just that's probably the biggest thing for me regarding that.
I
You
like
know?
that. I like that because then you're directly building that type of culture. You're building that legacy within a company, not only just at home. So once again, just like what we talked about, like if you have that scarcity mindset, if you're closed off, that's going to reflect in other aspects of life. And it's the same vice versa. If you want to help, if you want to set those standards, if you want to have priorities, if you want to help people grow, you see that also, the developing legacies. You see that in different aspects of your life. So it's very contagious. And I just want to say, I love the example. I love everything you're doing. It's been an amazing week here with you, and I can't wait to learn more from you. How can someone reach out to you? How does someone find more information about what Heritage Electric has to offer?
Through the website, www.heritage-electricinc.com. And then we also have our social media, Heritage Electric Inc. And that's pretty much two of the best ways.
Appreciate you, Steven. I'm going to put their information down below, but
Yeah,
it's
thank
always
you,
a
Matt. I
pleasure.
appreciate you. It's
The
an
same.
honor.
The same. Thank you, everybody. Now we do that.